Welcome to my live. Sorry, I missed last week. Last week was not fun. Okay, but this week is more fun. My husband tells me today is International Taco Day, which also is landing on Taco Tuesday. So everyone should go have some tacos. I don't know if I particularly need another reason to eat tacos because tacos are just delightful. And I do live in LA, AKA Northern Mexico. And so I'm going to go have tacos for lunch after this. All right. So exciting news for me and hopefully for you also. I guess what's back? I have more sketchbooks. All right. So, those of you new to me, I don't know when I started making these sketchbooks. Time is a construct, it's a social construct, it's a mental construct. I don't know. But I made these sketchbooks once upon a time. Okay. And then we ran out, and now we have more. Okay. And it is a collaboration I did with a company called Etched Sketchbooks. And these are sustainably made with stone. Okay. They're stone paper. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Go ahead and look it up. It, you know what? I'm gonna, I'm on the website, so I'm gonna read the whole, you know, where's the, ah, so on their website, they have a whole list of the paper is tree free. Okay. No water is used. The rest of it is made from recycled materials like the cover, and it's acid and bleach free. And it has lower CO2 emissions in the production than even recycled pulp paper or new pulp paper. And inside, hey Rachel, good morning. Gonna go look up the sketchbook after the live stream. Okay. Inside, I have my templates. Okay. Now, if you go to Etch, you can just buy a blank stone paper sketchbook, but mine, and they're labeled Zoe Hong sketchbooks. I don't know if you could see here. They have my figure templates, and then on the other side, they have my flat templates, if you can see that. And of course, they're lightly drawn so that you can draw right on top. That's the whole point, is how I recommend people use croquis figures, whether they're mine or someone else's. These are the same figures that you can get at my shop.zoehong.com, but they're in my sketchbook. And one of the beautiful things about stone paper, other than how sustainable they are, is this paper. Where is one of my examples? It takes marker really well without bleeding. Okay. This is my sample. This is not a sketchbook I use myself. I just use this for demo purposes. Like this is marker. This is a marker. These are marker sketches. And there's nothing, see? And there's nothing on the other side. So it's bleed proof marker paper. Okay. And I did just like a swatch of black marker on the paper, just so you can see, okay, just one layer of paper, and you can see it does not bleed to the other side. Okay, this is all one sheet. Okay, and because it's stone, it's made from construction waste. The stone is harvested from construction waste, and the other side there's no bleed, so you can scrub your marker all up in there, and there's no bleed through. It takes a second to dry, which I personally like because then I can just kind of play around with the marker a little bit. But you know, that's pencil. I did a little Christmas cape in paint. all my painted samples? I'm so This I drew in color pencil, and color pencil shows up so intense and beautiful on this paper because it's so smooth, and the pencil just freaking glides. Just glides like ice skates. Okay. So there are more sketchbooks available now at etchsketchbook.com. Okay. Or sorry, etchstonepaper.com. I'm going to drop the link in the comments, in the video description, all over the place, but it's ETCHED, etchedstonepaper.com. And then when you look at the top banner, you're going to see Zoe Hong in green. That's my own sketchbook. All right. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, sales until supplies run out. And I don't make a lot of these. I don't. Like, I practice what I preach. And I'm always telling y'all, like, don't make too many. You don't want to be sitting on a bunch of crap if it doesn't sell. So I don't make a bunch of these at a time. All right. Next item of business. Okay. So today's topic is all about how color is addressed and used and considered in the fashion industry. It does not come from Janine this week. Hello, Gabrielle. This comes from a commenter named Wong Anomalous, if I'm saying that correctly. Wong Anomalous says, I accept the challenge from Janine on asking great questions, lol, and I offer my first attempt. When considering color theory while designing a collection, how much do the interactions between fabric texture, sheerness, sheen, luster, weight, stiffness or softness, weave, etc. affect how colors interact with one another? And does this ever shift how color theory translates from illustration to actual garments? Hi, Zoe. The voice is low. Oh no, I don't know how to fix that. I don't really have volume controls on this thing. Dang it. Hold on. Like it just has, you can have a mic or you can not. Felicia says, I hear you fine. Okay. So, hi, Ellen. Ellen says my volume is okay. All right. Please keep letting me know how the volume is. This is a new phone, so I may have to change my mic settings yet again. So back to the question at hand. Okay. So this person is asking about, when you're doing a project, let's say, and you have all these color chips and you're illustrating your collection with, markers or paint, and you have color theory and you do a split complementary color scheme and you have manipulated all the colors and you've come up with a beautiful color story for your collection. What happens when you translate all those paper drawings into fabric and all these textures, and what happens then? And so, okay, first of all, there is definitely a point in which you don't want to get too in the weeds about the ever so slightly different shades, because it could be the difference between dye lots. Okay. A dye lot is when you have, let's say you want 100 yards of dyed to match t-shirt jersey, and you want it in this very particular red, and you give the dye house the Pantone number for the red. And they say we can only dye 50 yards at a time. So we're going to do 2 dye lots. One dye lot's going to have 50 yards and the other dye lot's going to have 50 yards. And you can give them the Pantone number. They can use the same exact dye formula for both dye lots to as closely as humanly possible. But it could be that they'll be a hair off. Have you ever gone to a store? And this usually works best for stores that have a lot of inventory, a lot of branches, are more mass market than your local designer. Have you ever looked at like a row of t-shirts and they're the same t-shirt and they're the same fabric and they're supposed to be the same color? And there's 2 where you could swear up and down they're just like a little shade different. They were just different dye lots. Okay, so there's like to a point where you kind of have to let things go. You should still be as accurate as possible, but there's a point where you have to let things go, okay? Because human error, math, dye lots, formulas, all that kind of thing, okay? So there is that. And then, so let's talk about the design process a little bit, okay? So when you first start a collection, color choice is so important because it's one of the first things you notice about clothing before anything else. You see it from far away. Hi, Violet Femme, good morning. And you could see it across the street. When you're scrolling the internet and you're on Threads and people are talking about a collection and you see the little pictures, the first thing you notice is the color scheme. And it's kind of the thing that gets you to open the pictures bigger or not. If it's a color that you're like, oh, that's beautiful. I wonder what it looks like, what the rest of it looks like. Or, God, that is a god-awful color story, And we have emotional reactions to color. And we also have, I know that color is going to look good on me. Let me go check it out reactions to color. So color is a huge deal. Color is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Color is so important that this is something the industry does, is let's say they issue a t-shirt and they issue it in 6 different colors and one of the colors doesn't sell. Let's say the yellow doesn't sell for whatever reason. And they're like, well, all the other colors sold, which means the fit is okay and, the cut, the fabric, everything is okay. Nobody likes the yellow. Okay? So first of all, it's going to be noted at that company, our customers don't like yellow. And so the chances of yellow being used again will decrease. And in future collections, fashion merchandisers who go through sales data and are like, our customers don't like yellow, they'll remind designers the next time they want to do yellow, like, our customers don't like yellow. Stop it. And then the next thing that will happen is if the logistics work out, the company will try to over dye those yellow t-shirts into a new color that they think will be more successful. Usually something really dark like black or navy, and try to sell those same t-shirts again. Okay? So that's how important the color is. They'll actually go through the expense of trying to dye these t-shirts again and try to sell them. And of course, that'll eat into their margin, but it's better than sitting with a bunch of yellow t-shirts that no one wants to buy. Elizar says, yes, I knit all the time and you have to check dye lots because sometimes the yarn colors are a bit off. I bet that's so important in knitting. I don't knit because I'm terrible at it. Like I've tried a couple times. So when I see people who knit, I'm like, y'all are better than me, okay? But can you imagine if you didn't check the dye lots, if you didn't get a perfect match, then you have like green, like say you're knitting, and you run out of yarn and then you have like a slightly different green for like the second half of your sweater. Like, no. Yeah, you have to check the dye lots. Ellen says, currently in love with the brown color in the Max Mara ads. Max Mara, I love their coats. I'm kind of ambivalent on the rest of their ready to wear. It's like hit or miss, but I love a Max Mara coat. And they do a lot of these like camel brown, caramel, golden brown colors really well. Like that is their bread and butter. That is their expertise. I'm sure it's beautiful. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it's beautiful. Like, and when I used to work at the leather jacket company, it wasn't often or anything, but sometimes we would have these like short little meetings where we would have to come up with new names for the word for brown. Like we had to come up with new browns because a lot of leather is either black or some shade of brown, right? And so we like it was a lot of drinks, a lot of alcoholic drinks. So we had a lot of like amarettos and cognacs and whiskey. And then we also had like tobacco, and we had different tree names like oak, because you can't keep calling things the same like brown, golden brown, light brown, like all the time. But yeah, there are a lot of we literally would sit down and come up with fun words for the colors. But just as a side note, when you name your colors and you put them in your line sheet, your color name has to reflect what the color is. It has to make sense. And if you have a lot of browns and people don't know what amaretto is, you got to kind of put it in the, like, if people don't know, I don't even know what amaretto is, but you got to put in the comments. Okay. Like my go-to example has always been tequila vomit, because I saw it on I saw it on a line sheet once. I'm like, what color is tequila vomit? What even is that? Like, that's not reflective of any color. But if you're going to name a color for marketing purposes, if you use something like tequila vomit, you have to put in parentheses like green or yellow green or whatever you think tequila vomit is, okay? So that people know what color they're ordering. So you create a color story for your collection, and then you pick your Pantone chips. And that's how Pantone works, is when the whole thing about Pantone is it regulates the color industry so that you can take your Pantone number and you can give it to the guy dyeing your fabric. You can give it to your person who's picking the threads and be like, pick the thread that's closest to this color. Nobody's dyeing to match thread, okay? But they'll be like, pick a thread closest to this Pantone color. Some people call it PMS. And when you are picking zipper pulls or zipper tapes, most people are not dying to match zipper tapes, but they'll take the Pantone chip and try to find the zipper tape that's closest to the Pantone color. It becomes the index. It becomes the master color that you're matching everything to, so that your garment all looks like it was all dipped in a dye bath all together. So all the colors come together. Tequila vomit, no way, haha, couldn't even guess what color that would be. I'm saying, okay? And you know what? I never did find out, because I was walking a trade show and I was just kind of like casually flipping through a line sheet at a trade show, and I was like, okay. And I just walked away. I was like, okay, whatever. So once you pick your Pantone color, you definitely, like, this is a step that not everyone takes, but is you can get textile swatches of your Pantone chips. So your Pantone chips are ink on paper, and they have like a proprietary printing process to make sure of color accuracy. Like, there are videos on the internet about it. You can look it up. But you can also get textile swatches, so you can get like a little bit of a preview as to what the color is going to look like on fabric. When you start looking for fabrics, okay, you're going to take your Pantone chips with you. And so you can talk about, let's say you need a shirting, like a cotton shirting, and you're going to do some button-up shirts. And you go to Phillips Boyne, and are they still in business? Like, Phillips Boyne has been around forever, and they are like, or were, I don't know, the kings of like men's shirting fabrics forever. And they you can go to them and be like, I want shirtings in these colors. And so you look and you find the qualities that you like. You ask them if they have these Pantone colors available in the qualities that you picked, and or if you can get things dyed to match. And sometimes, like, and I've said this before, the inspiration, the color, and the fabric, they all kind of like happen at the same time in the industry. Like, I break them up into different steps in the book and in my teaching processes because I need you to understand each step of the process. But a lot of the times in the industry, they just kind of get like done at the same time. And so sometimes you're like, I love this quality. They come in these blues. I already picked this other blue, but this blue actually works with these other colors I have going on. This is such a nice blue in the fabric, and I know how it's going to turn out. Actually, let's use this one instead. So like it all kind of comes in together. Like, let's say you want a lot of blues for this particular collection, and maybe you don't have it like set in stone, and you go see your fabric person and you see very specific blues that you like, and you're kind of like, this is not the exact quality I like. The quality is nice. This is not number one. Maybe it's my number two choice, but it comes in all the colors I want. Like, it kind of just sort of weaves in on itself as you're working. And so, yeah, like every texture is going to affect the color, period. You know, the same color in fur, the same color in velvet. Velvet is especially like, velvet is so annoying. Like, I saw this TikTok the other day where this guy who, he's a technician, he does toiles for a design house, and he was talking about how somebody told him that velvet is their favorite fabric, and he's like, as a technician, I can't stand it. I'm like, same. Working with velvet is, it's a nightmare. It's annoying. I don't like it. If I have to do any part of the construction, I refuse. Okay? If I can just send all of it out, I could do velvet. It's fine. I don't have a ton of experience with velvet, but it's kind of on purpose. Like, I've never really wanted to work a lot with velvet. It's annoying. It's a napped fiber and it changes color depending on the light, which is another thing. And so all your colors are going to look different depending on the light. That's why so many runway shows are just done in like a barren white room with clean white lighting so that you can really see the colors. So Gabrielle says, oh Lord, I have some velveteen to sew. Yeah, good luck with that. Sorry, that was mean. But yeah, that whole family, velour, velveteen, velvet, it's not fun. Okay. And here's the thing, velvet is so expensive. On top of it being annoying, velvet, silk velvet in particular, like you can get silk velvet, rayon velvet, and polyester velvet. I think those are the three main. And of course, the price points hit differently, but silk velvet, on top of it being annoying, it's beautiful, but it's annoying and it's high maintenance. And yeah. Anyway, so where was I? Textures affecting colors. So when you have things like velvet, you really have several colors going on and they all kind of play together. So yeah, you do have to really gather up your fabrics and assess how they all look together before you start finalizing what's going to go into the collection. Which is why most design houses, like I'm going to just go ahead and say all design houses, they order more sample fabrics than they're going to have in their final collection because not all fabrics are going to work out. They're just not. Like, you could order like 10 different fabrics and have them in an array of colors. So you might end up with like maybe 20 fabrics and you're sampling and you're trying things out. And sometimes, and I'm talking even when you have experience, like you cut something out of a particular fabric that you thought was going to look good, but it does not. Mm-mm. And so, or it looks good, but it doesn't fit the rest of the collection. It doesn't fit what you dreamt for the collection, the vibe that you were going for, like all these things. And so you have to put all these things together, like both in collage on your mood board, which is why that whole mood board, concept board, sketchbook development thing is a very like people fight over it on the internet a lot. It's like, oh, you don't do that in the industry, so why do it at school? It's like you might not do like a lot of sketchbook development in school, but at the same time, even working in the industry, I do recommend that you have like a single cork board where the ideas go that you can look at just to organize your thoughts. It doesn't have to be a beautiful sketchbook. It doesn't have to be a marvelous collage like on an A plus or anything like that. But the pictures that inspire you, the colors that you're going with, like maybe you have a picture and that's your color inspiration, and then you start putting your Pantone colors up there so that you're seeing how the Pantone colors look together. And then you start putting swatches of your sample fabrics up there and you start seeing them together. And maybe you're cutting up different swatches and making different groupings and seeing what can be taken out and what can be kept. Also, while keeping in mind your customer doesn't wear yellow. And maybe you need a little bit of yellow to brighten things up, but since your customer doesn't wear yellow, you're going to use it extremely minimally and used in like more of an accent color than a full color for pieces in your collection. Okay? So that is kind of one way of doing things. Another way of doing things is for color, if you are a print heavy house. Okay. Zimmerman, Diane von Furstenberg, Marnie, like Dries Van Noten, Pucci, big old print heavy houses, even Burberry. A lot of the time, what will happen is because they're such a print driven company, the prints will be one of the first things developed in the design process. And so you're working on the textile designers are working on the print, and then the print gets colored, of course. And oftentimes the print will go through a few different colorways. And then what will happen is the solids for that collection will be pulled from the print colors. So you're going to be picking exact colors that go well together in the print, not just random colors you picked together and decided to develop a split comp, or maybe you decided you wanted a split complementary color scheme for this print and you kind of played around with that and you made the print work the best, because that's, if you're a print driven company, your print has to look good, period. And then the solids get pulled from the prints. Now, not all colors make for good clothing solids. Some colors just do not translate well. People do not wear them en masse. And so, people will wear purple. There are a lot of these sort of like neutral, taupey, olivey colors that work really well as accent colors in a print that it's like really difficult for a large group of people to be sold on. Okay, so you're going to pull your solid colors from the print, and then maybe you dye to match everything. Like you're going to have the custom colors, the Pantone colors for the print. Like you're going to tell your printer, hey, all the orange in here, this Pantone, and all the yellow here, this Pantone, okay, for the print. And then you're going to use those same Pantone colors for your solids, your dye to match solids, okay? So that's another way of doing things. And yeah, if you have different textures, you are going to have to test them. And sometimes, like let's say you want to run pink, yellow, green, and blue for your solids. And for some reason, the shiny yellow is so ugly. I feel like I'm beating up on yellow today. I'm not, because I love yellow. I love wearing yellow. I'm a big yellow fan. But let's just say, okay, hi Martina. Good morning. And so let's say that when you're doing shiny fabrics in the pink, yellow, green, and blue, like let's say you want to do a charmeuse and you want to do a taffeta and the shiny yellow is just maybe you just don't offer that. Maybe you don't. And that's why different styles offer different colors. Like you can't, sometimes you can, okay, but you don't have to offer every single style in every single available color. Okay, you want to do things in the best light. And so you're just going to offer what you think is going to sell the best. I mean, to be fair, I love a pair of pink pants. Real men wear pink. My husband has a pair of pink jeans that he wears often. They're very cute on him. But pink pants are not as popular as, say, black pants, dark brown pants, navy pants. And so even white pants, you have to be selective in what colors get used with what fabrics. So when you're picking your bottom weights, okay, like typically bottom weights are going to be a little bit more on the neutral side. And then your top weights, like people wear t-shirts in any color, right? And so you can have a lot more freedom in the t-shirt weights or the blouse weights that you pick. So you do have to sit down once you have designed out the collection, pick, oh, well, these blouses are going to be offered in these fabrications, in these colors, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And, you know, there's always going to be the random blouse where, okay, this one is tricky to make. It's very expensive. I don't want to cut a lot of these. It's really beautiful, but the MOQs are going to suck. And so let's just run this one in black. Okay. Just in the black, the end. And sometimes it happens where you can't get a certain trim in a different color. I've had this happen to me before too, where let's say again, pink, yellow, green, and blue, right? And you want to put some kind of beading on it, but you cannot get the beading to work on the blue to save your life. You just, there's no way you can get it, and you can't dye to match certain beads, and like all the blue beads that you found are tacky. Is not working. The blue texture, it's not working. So that beaded piece only available in pink, yellow, and green. And that's just how it is. And so the whole idea, like when I say I try to teach design process as linearly as possible so that you're understanding every step, like the challenge in me teaching that is to extricate all these steps from each other when in reality, all these steps are kind of ongoing all the time. Okay. So yeah, it's just that when I teach, it's usually beginners who don't even know where to get started. And so I start with the rudiments of like developing a color story, figuring out what colors work together, like all those kinds of things. Okay. To lighten things up, I'm going to share with y'all my favorite joke. Okay. My favorite clean joke. And a Korean girlfriend told me this joke, and it's so immigrant coded. But I think you'll get it anyway. So the joke is there's this new Korean kid in class. And she told it because she's Korean and I'm Korean, whatever. Okay. So there's this new Korean kid in class in the US, and they're in kindergarten. And the teacher is like, who can use the words pink, yellow, and green in a sentence? And the little Korean kid raises his hand. He's like, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And so the teacher calls on the little Korean kid and he says, when the phone goes green, green, I pink it up and say yellow. Don't at me. It's cute. It's my favorite clean joke. And I still tell it. When the phone goes green, green, I pink it up and say yellow. And sometimes I do that to my husband when he calls me. Like, I'd be like, yellow. like if you're Korean, if you're Korean American, you have like this kind of like roster of funny stories of like, that kind of thing. And the guy who went into Burger King asking for a Big Mac, and there was that one where the Korean minister was looking for a parking lot, but he kept saying parking lot. I'm looking for a parking lot, and the terrible. I know, terrible. Just terrible, terrible, cute Asian jokes. Anyway, that only I can tell because, only Asians can tell those jokes. Okay. So, all right. Any questions on color in the industry and how it's used in design process? And of course, you're not going to cut production on all these styles either. Okay. So if you're doing wholesale, you are going to wait until the selling season is over. And if you only get, like, let's say one store orders 6 yellow t-shirts and nobody orders yellow t-shirts, first of all, that's a crime because yellow t-shirts are so cute. And number two, it's just too much money to cut those yellow t-shirts. Okay. I mean, you might be able to do it if it's like a rerun. Like if you already have that t-shirt pattern graded and ready to go, and it's a repeat, and you have no minimums for the yellow fabric, and maybe you can put it in with an order for something else. But honestly, most of the time, it's not going to be worth it. And so the salesperson needs to call the store. You can't just not ship them the 6 yellow, t-shirts. All right. You have to contact the store. It's got to be generally the salespeople because they're the go-between. Call the store and be like, hi, listen, the yellow shirt is no longer available. And so what we can do is maybe, do you want the green t-shirt? Or maybe we take it out completely or something, okay? But you do have to negotiate that and make sure that you're cutting production on orders that make money sense, okay? So sometimes you're just not going to run. And just speaking in terms of production and not running things, okay? Sometimes the brand is not at fault for not running larger sizes. I used to work for this women's wear company, and we ran our styles up to a size 12. Did we not but we ran our styles to a size 12. Sorry, sometimes I glitch out because I see a comment coming in while I'm talking. But a lot of stores, especially these bougie little boutiques in the middle of nowhere where they want to kind of create this like a super skinny clientele mystique or whatever, they don't order to a size 12. A lot of the times we'll only get orders from like 2 to 8. So it'll be a surprise when someone even orders a size 10. And so we would cut to size 12. We would offer up to a size 12, but we ran so few 12s. I'm sure that, public opinion, and this is before the internet was like a huge deal. When I worked at that company, we were all kind of like, should we do a website for our brand? Like that's how new the internet was to fashion back then. And so people probably, if we did that now, would be like, what's wrong with your brand? Why don't you ever make anything over a size 8? And it's like, we do, but stores do not order these sizes. And so sometimes it's a matter of the stores. That's why it's nice to have your own sales presence, whether that's a brick and mortar or online, so that it can have a more accurate, true to you representation of your brand, because you can say like, oh, I cut up to a 12, I cut up to a 16, and just because Nordstrom, Neiman's, whatever store doesn't order it doesn't mean we don't offer it. They don't want it, we offer it, okay? And if you want it, you can buy it from us. So Let's not forget that colors look different on various fabrics, right? Oh, you said it using velvet as an example. Yeah, that was the whole beginning part of this lecture, was thinking about different textures. Okay. And yeah, so the whole thing about color theory is it's a starting point. It's a starting point. And it works more in direct translation when you are not changing mediums. Like if you're an oil painter and you're mixing the oil paints on your palette and using color theory to mix the oil paint, the oil paints, and then you're applying the oil paint to your canvas, that's a direct. And so you're not going through texture changes. Okay. Whereas us, we kind of start by looking at paint chips, making our own paint chips with whatever medium, and then translating that to fabric. And so we have to watch out for the medium transfer and how it affects the colors. And so color theory can only be a starting point for us. So you have to learn the theory to get started for sure, but the application, you have to adjust to the application also. Martina says, and do the bigger sizes on demand too costly? What do you mean by that? One by one? You can't cut. If you are someone, okay, take out made to order completely. If you're someone who is doing wholesale and you're cutting to order, mass production, you know, if someone comes along and says, I want to order one size 20, they better pay you all that production money for that one size 20, because you're going to have to grade the pattern. And if you're a straight size brand, then it's not a simple grade to grade up to a size 20. It's a whole new pattern to develop to a plus size pattern. And so they have to pay for that. And then the materials you have, whatever, and you could check with the factory and make sure that they'll sew up this one bigger size, but they have to pay for all that development, the pattern making, the fitting for the size 20. Like, or am I not understanding your question correctly? Like, you can't. This idea of doing things on demand has really gotten out of control. It really has. Unless you are specifically a made to order like company and your whole thing is just making one-offs for people. And I have a video on the main channel about that, how you can turn a made to order business profitable. But you can't just do one-offs for people if you are doing mass production, whether it's direct to order, direct to consumer, or wholesale. Like even if you're a direct to consumer company and you're only doing straight sizes and someone comes along and says, I want to order a size 20, and you only go up to a 12, like the development cost for doing 120 is just not worth it unless they can pay thousands of dollars. And before you come at me on, oh, this is why brands don't do plus size. No. Development costs, if you're going to be doing plus size mass market, the development costs decrease over time as you develop these patterns. And, you know, the more pieces you sell, the development costs get dispersed across all the pieces that you sell, all the garments that you sell. And if you sell one garment, then it's not worth it for those development costs. But if you develop a plus size range and you actually put marketing money and muscle behind it to push the brand and do proper development on it so that it looks and functions as well as your straight size brand, then you could probably sell, and those development costs will be dispersed through the run, through all the sales. Martina says, yeah, I knew a knit company that do most sizes ready to buy and the biggest are on demand. They already have the patterns and the production is there. Yeah, if they have the patterns and all of that is already set up, I mean, that's the big cost. So if they're just doing like one piece, but the systems are set up, then sewing one is just sewing one, or making one is just making one. That's not the part. It's the development costs up front. Any other questions on color? Okay, so I just want to reiterate, my sketchbooks are back on sale. Okay, I gave a little blurb on that in the beginning, but a lot of you missed it. My Zoe Hong etched stone paper sketchbooks are back by popular demand. They are sustainable and made from stone paper, which is stone that they have been harvested from construction waste. So no trees were involved in the making of these books. This is a collaboration with Etched Stone Paper Sketchbooks. And inside, I have my flat templates on one side, and I have my figure templates on the other side, so that you can use the templates to just sketch right in the book and get started immediately. And they're bleed proof for marker. So you can marker directly into Sketchbook and they won't bleed. This is a swatch where I just scrubbed marker all over the page. And this is one sheet, okay? One sheet. You turn it over. Where is it? No bleed, okay? This is one sheet of paper, okay? All this marker, layered marker, no bleeding. So bleed proof marker paper. Of course, it takes other things like colored pencil, all these beautiful things. So you could sketch right on it, okay? Go to etchedstonepaper.com. At the top, you'll see my name, Zoe Hong, in green. Click on that to order your own sketchbook. And just as a side note, the price has gone up a little bit, but it's because Etched is swallowing whatever fluctuations in tariffs that are going on. Okay? No one is giving anybody a straight answer as to the tariff situation. And so they have to be shipped to all the different countries that they ship. They ship to a lot of countries. And especially and the US is my biggest base. And they have to swallow all the tariff issues. They have to eat those costs. And so we raise the price a little bit to accommodate that. So that is that. But that's my new sketchbook. Jack and Jeff Denham, are your sketchbooks just women's wear, or is there menswear flats as well? Just women's wear. That was kind of just the demand for them. Gabrielle says, do people include colors in their market research? It's so hard to find such data in the wild. Yes, people do think about colors in their market research. And yeah, it's really depending on so many factors, and it all boils down to the customer. This is why I'm always talking about customer research in the development of your brand and each collection. And your colors are going to, even the kinds of colors that you pursue, it's going to be dependent on whether you're a trend-driven company or whether you're more classics-oriented, whether your clothes are for younger people who jump on more color trends, typically speaking, than kind of your mid-range people, and then old people. There's like a surge in old people, these I don't give an F old people who wear all kinds of fun things, and I love that. And then there's, your brand and the aesthetic of your brand that you're giving off. and how much, there are different brands that have like a key color, you know, there's Valentino red, Tiffany blue, Hermes orange, Chanel is very black and white. Burberry's got that golden beige color from the trench coats and their Burberry plaid. They had that whole color story with the Burberry plaid, with the black, white, and the red. Even if they're like, some have a specific Pantone color, like Hermes orange is a specific Pantone chip, Tiffany blue also. Even if you don't have that, there are specific associations people have with, the color behind their branding. Like, and I've talked about this in the book. I've talked about it in a video, I believe, where people associate specific colors with different brands, even if it's not in their Pantone chips, because it's so part of their house codes. Like, if you look at any Giambattista Valli collection, you're going to see a lot of pastels and then a pop of red. And when you watch shows from The Row, you're going to see a ton of neutrals and also a pop of red. But this pop of red, like, red is a very popular color that is often viewed as a neutral, but it's used in completely different ways because Giambattista Valli and The Row are such completely brands. They do completely different things. Their looks are very different. And then you have brands like Cavalli, where leopard print is practically a neutral. And so those are your considerations: your customer, your brand, and your brand's aesthetic, what trends are going on, and whether your customer is someone who follows trends, the age of your customer, all these things. And so it's not a concrete sort of thing. It's a lot of moving parts and variables that you have to consider. Also, people dress for the season. There are some colors that are associated with specific season. What is that scene in The Devil Wears Prada where she's like, florals for spring? Like, she's like revolutionary. And people, like, every season, they're like, oh, brown for fall. Wow. Like, so, but still, people do tend to gravitate towards more jewel tones in the fall and lighter colors in the spring. It's just kind of our natural inclination. Like, people are tired of heavy winter coats, and then they like want to brighten up, lighten up, both literally and figuratively. So, yeah. Ellen says design coloring books. I don't know what that means. Florals, how original. Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was. Imogen says, do you have any tips on getting better at sketching? I unfortunately have pretty much no talent for it. Imogen, my main channel has so many drawing videos. I have a fashion figure sketching tutorial playlist. I have a male fashion figure sketching tutorial playlist. I have a general figure drawing playlist. I have a how to draw clothes on bodies playlist. That is what I focus on, drawing bodies and drawing clothes on bodies. So you can go check those out. I also have more focused, more streamlined, focused classes in my Patreon, patreon.com/Zoe Hong. One for figure drawing, one for drawing clothes on bodies. I have lessons in my book, Fashion School in a Book. So yeah, also just practice is a whole thing. JA says, your channel is a wealth of information. Thank you. I like to think so too. All right. Any last questions? We are getting close to an hour, and I have a date with my husband to go eat tacos because today is International Taco Day, for those of you who missed it. And it's Taco Tuesday, so it's Taco Day squared. All right. Jabin says, can you get this recording, please? Yes, I record all of my live streams, and I post them to this channel after the fact. Okay? Anything else? And Wong Anomalous, I hope that answers your question about color theory and changing textures and color theory in the context of designing a collection, all those good things. Thank you very much. I will enjoy my tacos, JA. Go pick up my sketchbook or go ahead and put a link to my sketchbook in your holiday gift wish list this year for a loved one to pick up for you, or you can gift them to other people. Yeah, so that's that. Thanks, Rachel. So no more questions? Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up. I will see you next week, Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you have a specific question you want me to address in the next live stream, go ahead and drop it in the comments below. All right, bye.